Everyone thinks they know what certainty feels like. That quiet confidence that settles in your chest when you believe you've made the right choice. The kind of certainty that makes you ignore the tiny warning signs because love, real love, is supposed to feel safe. I've heard stories like this before, and every time, they start the same way. With happiness that feels earned. With a future that feels locked in. And with a past that's waiting patiently to be remembered. Her name was Olivia. She met Marcus on an ordinary Tuesday, the kind of day that disappears from memory unless something extraordinary happens to interrupt it. She had stopped at a small coffee shop after work, exhausted and irritated at the world, rehearsing imaginary arguments in her head about things that didn't really matter. Marcus was standing behind her in line, struggling to keep a lid on a cup that clearly didn't belong to him. It spilled. Not dramatically, not enough to ruin anyone's clothes, just enough to make him curse under his breath and laugh at himself. That laugh is what caught her attention. It wasn't loud or forced. It was easy. Familiar. Like something she'd heard 100 times in another life. They talked for less than 5 minutes. About nothing important. About the weather, about how overpriced coffee had become, about how Tuesdays felt heavier than Mondays because at least on Mondays you expected misery. When Olivia walked out with her cup, she didn't think she'd just met the man she would marry. She just felt lighter than she had when she walked in. Marcus asked for her number in the parking lot, slightly awkward, honest about it too. He said he didn't usually do this. She smiled and said neither did she. They both knew that was a lie, but it felt good anyway. From the beginning, Marcus felt different. He listened in a way that made Olivia feel like she wasn't performing. No need to impress. No need to explain herself twice. When she talked about her childhood, he didn't interrupt with comparisons. When she complained about work, he didn't rush to fix it. He just stayed present. For someone who had dated men who treated conversations like competitions, this felt like relief. They took things slowly, at least on the surface. A few dates turned into weekends together. Weekends turned into routines. Marcus always texted when he said he would. He remembered small details. He never disappeared without explanation. And when he spoke about the future, it wasn't vague. It wasn't fantasy. It sounded planned. There was something else too. Something harder to define. Marcus carried himself like someone who had already survived something. Not in a broken way. In a settled way. He didn't chase chaos. He avoided unnecessary drama. When conflicts came up, he addressed them calmly, sometimes almost too calmly, but Olivia interpreted that as maturity. After all, everyone wants stability. Especially after years of emotional unpredictability. 6 months in, she realized she trusted him completely. That realization came quietly, late one night while he was asleep beside her. She watched his breathing slow, felt the warmth of his hand resting on her waist, and thought, without fear or hesitation, this is it. This is home. Marcus proposed a year later, not with fireworks or crowds, but with intention. He took her back to the same coffee shop where they met. He was nervous. His hands shook. He admitted he'd rehearsed the speech a dozen times and forgot all of it the moment he saw her. He didn't promise perfection. He promised honesty, effort, and loyalty. Olivia said yes before he even finished. The wedding was small, exactly how they wanted it. Close friends. Family. No unnecessary performances. Olivia remembers thinking, as she stood there in her dress, that life finally made sense. That all the wrong turns had led her exactly where she needed to be. The first year of marriage felt like an extension of that certainty. They built routines together. Grocery shopping on Sundays. Late-night conversations about nothing and everything. Marcus cooked more than she did. He insisted on cleaning the kitchen before bed. He kissed her forehead every morning before work. If there were secrets in his past, they didn't show themselves yet. But there were silences. At first, Olivia didn't notice them. Or maybe she noticed and dismissed them because happiness has a way of dulling suspicion. Marcus rarely talked about his life before he met her. He mentioned an ex once, vaguely, without details. Said it hadn't ended well. Said he didn't like looking back. Olivia respected that. Everyone has chapters they'd rather not reread. Sometimes, though, she would catch him staring at his phone a moment too long before locking the screen. Sometimes he'd seem distracted after certain calls, his mood shifting subtly, like a cloud passing over the sun and moving on before you could point it out. When she asked if everything was okay, he always smiled and said yes. And she believed him. Why wouldn't she? There was one night, about 8 months into their marriage, that stayed with her longer than it should have. They were lying in bed, talking about meaningless things, when she asked him what he was most afraid of losing. She expected him to say her. Or their life together. Or time. Instead, he went quiet. Not the thoughtful quiet she was used to. This was heavier. After a moment, he said, "I'm afraid of being misunderstood." She laughed softly and told him everyone feels that way sometimes. He nodded, but his eyes didn't meet hers. She let it go. She didn't know then that this was the closest he'd ever come to telling her the truth. The first real disturbance came in the form of a name. They were at a dinner with friends when someone Marcus knew from work joined their table unexpectedly. A woman named Rachel. She greeted Marcus warmly, too warmly for a casual acquaintance, and then froze when she noticed Olivia. There was a flicker of recognition in her eyes, something unreadable. Rachel recovered quickly, introduced herself, made polite conversation, but the air had shifted. Later that night, Olivia asked how Marcus knew her. He hesitated. Just for a second. Then said they'd crossed paths years ago. Nothing important. The lie wasn't obvious. It was clean. Almost believable. Almost. Olivia didn't confront him further. She told herself she was imagining things. That jealousy had a way of inventing meaning where there was none. Still, she couldn't forget the look on Rachel's face. Or the way Marcus avoided eye contact the rest of the evening. After that, things changed subtly. Marcus became more guarded with his phone. He started taking calls outside. He slept restlessly some nights, waking suddenly, breath uneven, as if pulled from a dream he didn't want to remember. When Olivia asked what he was dreaming about, he said nothing. Just stress. She wanted to believe him. She really did. One afternoon, while cleaning the apartment, Olivia opened a drawer she rarely touched. Inside was an old envelope, yellowed with time, addressed to Marcus. No return address. Just a name written in careful handwriting. Rachel. Her heart didn't race. Not yet. She told herself there was a logical explanation. Old mail. A coincidence. She didn't open it. She left it exactly where it was and closed the drawer. But something inside her shifted. That night, Marcus noticed her distance immediately. He asked if she was okay. She said yes. He believed her, the same way she had believed him. They smiled at each other across the familiar space, both pretending nothing had changed. But it had. Over the next few weeks, the past crept closer. A message notification that vanished too quickly. A voicemail Marcus deleted without listening in front of her. A sudden insistence on visiting his parents alone one weekend. Each detail was small. Insignificant on its own. Together, they formed a pattern Olivia couldn't ignore. She started replaying memories, searching for missed signs. Had he always been this guarded? Or had she been too comfortable to notice? The breaking point came on a quiet Sunday morning. Marcus was in the shower. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Olivia didn't intend to look. She truly didn't. But the screen lit up, and she saw the name before she could stop herself. Rachel. The message preview was short. Just a few words. We need to talk. You can't keep pretending. Olivia sat there, phone in hand, the sound of running water suddenly deafening. This wasn't suspicion anymore. This was confirmation. When Marcus came out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, he knew instantly that something was wrong. He saw the phone. He saw her face. And for the first time since she'd known him, Marcus didn't try to explain. He just went still. That silence told Olivia more than any confession could have. She asked him who Rachel really was. Her voice was steady, surprising even herself. Marcus sat down slowly, like someone bracing for impact. He opened his mouth, closed it, then finally said words she never expected to hear. She's part of a life I thought I left behind. The room felt smaller. The certainty Olivia once felt evaporated, replaced by a cold awareness that love doesn't erase history. It only delays it. Marcus promised he would explain everything. He said he just needed time. That he'd been trying to protect her. That none of it changed how he felt about her. Olivia listened. She nodded. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. But somewhere deep inside, she understood something terrifying. You can marry the love of your life and still not know who they really are. And whatever Marcus was hiding, it was no longer content to stay in the past. Marcus didn't explain everything that night. He said he would, but explanation has a way of shrinking when fear takes over. Instead, he offered fragments. Pieces that sounded harmless on their own but carried weight when placed together. Rachel, he said, wasn't just an ex. She was someone he'd known during a time when his life was unstable. A time he wasn't proud of. He insisted it was over long before he met Olivia. That whatever connection remained was unresolved history, nothing more. Olivia wanted to believe him. Love makes you generous with doubt. It tells you that loyalty means patience, that understanding means waiting. So she waited. Days passed, then weeks. Marcus grew more anxious, not less. He checked the locks twice before bed. He jumped when his phone rang. He avoided places they used to go together. When Olivia asked if Rachel was still contacting him, he said no too quickly. His answers felt rehearsed, polished to sound convincing rather than true. I've watched people do this before. They think if they control the surface of the story, the truth underneath won't leak out. But it always does. The truth arrived one evening in the form of a knock on the door. Olivia opened it to find Rachel standing there, rain-soaked, eyes sharp with determination. She didn't look like someone chasing drama. She looked like someone done being ignored. I'm not here to hurt you, Rachel said immediately, before Olivia could speak. But you deserve to know who you married. Marcus appeared behind Olivia, his face draining of color. In that moment, whatever power he thought he had over the narrative disappeared. They sat at the kitchen table, the same place Olivia and Marcus had planned vacations, celebrated promotions, shared quiet laughter. Now it felt like a courtroom. Rachel didn't rush. She spoke carefully, choosing words that sounded rehearsed from years of holding them back. She explained that she and Marcus had been together during a period when he was involved in something dangerous. Not illegal in the dramatic sense, but morally compromised. He had made decisions that hurt people. Decisions that benefited him while costing others deeply. Rachel had been part of it. Not willingly at first. She had trusted him. Loved him. Believed his promises that it was temporary, that it would all be cleaned up eventually. When she tried to leave, he panicked. Not violently. Desperately. He begged her to stay silent, to give him time. Eventually, she did leave. But the consequences didn't disappear just because he moved on. There were people still affected. Still angry. Still watching. Marcus interrupted her, his voice shaking. He said she was exaggerating. That he'd changed. That he wasn't that person anymore. Rachel looked at Olivia then, not Marcus. Maybe he's changed, she said. But change doesn't erase responsibility. Olivia felt numb. Not overwhelmed. Not hysterical. Just hollow. She realized that the man she married hadn't lied about who he was now, he had lied about how he became that person. After Rachel left, silence filled the apartment again. This silence was different. It wasn't protective. It was exposed. Marcus finally told the rest. Years ago, he had been involved in a financial scheme that preyed on vulnerable people. Not outright theft. Just enough manipulation to stay legal while remaining cruel. When things started to collapse, he distanced himself, let others take the blame, walked away before consequences caught up. Rachel had known everything. She had tried to stop him. He chose ambition over accountability. I thought if I built a good life, Marcus said quietly, it would balance out the bad. That sentence stayed with Olivia longer than anything else. She asked him why he hadn't told her. Because I knew you wouldn't marry me if you knew, he replied. Honesty, finally. Too late to be useful. Olivia spent the night on the couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of their relationship. Every kind gesture. Every calm response. She wondered how much of it was genuine and how much was compensation. In the following days, the consequences arrived faster than she expected. Marcus was contacted by former associates. Subtle threats. Legal warnings. Rachel wasn't the past coming back, she was the warning shot. Olivia watched the man she loved unravel. The composure she admired fractured under pressure. He grew defensive, then desperate. He asked her to stand by him, to trust that love was bigger than mistakes. But love doesn't exist in isolation. It lives inside values. And values were exactly what had been hidden from her. I've learned that betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, wrapped in good intentions and fear. Sometimes the betrayal is deciding someone doesn't deserve the truth because it might cost you their affection. One night, Olivia realized something important. She wasn't angry because Marcus had a past. She was angry because he had decided, on his own, that she wasn't strong enough to face it. That was the moment her love changed. She asked Marcus to leave for a while. Not forever. Just long enough for her to breathe without managing his fear. He resisted at first, then agreed, packing a small bag, avoiding her eyes. The apartment felt strange without him. Too quiet. But also clearer. Rachel reached out once more, not to interfere, but to apologize. She said she never wanted to destroy a marriage. She just couldn't carry the truth alone anymore. Olivia thanked her. Not because the pain was justified, but because honesty mattered. Weeks passed. Legal matters escalated. Marcus was forced to confront consequences he'd been running from for years. Olivia watched from a distance, no longer shielding him, no longer participating in the illusion. When they finally met again, Marcus looked older. Smaller. He apologized, not for the situation, but for the choice he made to lie. He admitted he had built their relationship on omission, hoping love would make the foundation irrelevant. I do love you, he said. But I understand if that isn't enough. And for the first time, Olivia didn't answer immediately. Love had once felt like certainty. Now it felt like a question with no comfortable answer. In the end, Olivia chose herself. Not because Marcus was irredeemable, but because trust, once fractured, doesn't simply heal with time. It heals with truth, accountability, and the willingness to accept loss. They separated quietly. No screaming. No drama. Just grief, handled with maturity they hadn't had at the beginning. Months later, Olivia reflected on the experience differently. She didn't regret loving Marcus. She regretted ignoring the importance of knowing someone fully. Love isn't about perfection. It's about transparency. Marcus faced his consequences. Some legal. Some personal. He began the slow work of repair, without expecting forgiveness. And Olivia moved forward, wiser, steadier, carrying a truth she wished she'd learned earlier. You can marry the love of your life and still discover they are a stranger. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do isn't staying. It's walking away with clarity. If you stayed with this story until the end, thank you. Stories like this aren't just entertainment, they're mirrors. They remind us to listen carefully, to value honesty, and to understand that love without truth is only comfort, not safety. If this story resonated with you, there are many more waiting here. Subscribe, stay with us, and keep listening. Some stories warn us. Others prepare us. And sometimes, they save us from repeating the same mistakes.